Que Pasa Calexico. Welcome back to the podcast. Like always, before we begin, I want to thank a couple of people. First of all, I want to thank my friends here at Calexico Brewing Company. Thank you, Robert, for showing up a little bit early today. I kind of messed up on the times, but thank you so much for coming in early. Also want to thank my anchor sponsors, my friends Camilo, Jake, Edward Velasquez. Thank you guys for sponsoring the podcast. Also want to thank John Cabrera from AmeriCorp, Eddie Lopez from Roots Creative, Miss Norma Galindo. I want to thank Sergio's Tacos and Hotdogs, serving the Imperial, San Diego, and Yuma counties with over 8 years of experience with Mexicali-style tacos and taquizas. Make sure you contact Sergio at 760-562-0057 for your next event. Finally, I want to thank David Gastelum. If you're thinking of buying or selling a home in the Imperial or San Diego counties, make sure you contact David. He's not only a realtor, but an investor with over 20 years of experience, and he'll teach you along the way in one of the most important investments of your life. All right, so thank you guys for sponsoring the podcast. Today's guest, somebody that I first got to know because she ran for city council in Calapat, but now I started following this project she's working on. My guest today is Jacqueline Riddell. Is it
yes,
Riddell?
Jacqueline Riddell.
Or Jackie?
Jackie. I prefer Jackie, yes. When you call me Jacqueline, I feel punished. I feel like my mom's about to dame una chanclazo o algo, you know? So, Jackie it is, please.
Right. So, Jackie, thank you for driving down to Calexico and waiting a little bit in your car for me. And for
no problem. No, thank you for having me. I do like visiting the South End. A lot of the people that come into our programs, participate in our programs, are from Calexico. Actually, my vice president's from Calexico. So I don't mind the drive at all. It's scenic. I enjoy it.
So before we get into Best Step Forward, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? I know you're really involved in your community.
All right. Yes. All right. You got time?
Yeah.
All right. So yes, I'm Calipatria, pretty much born and raised in Calapat and Island. The youngest of four, the best looking one for sure. You hear that, guys? My parents are immigrants that came out here from Guadalajara and Mexicali, field workers, hardworking people that taught us really good morals and how to be hardworking humans and earn what we need in life and want in life. Pretty much became a volunteer firefighter at the age of 17 in Calipatria. Mm-hmm. Super young. I was a baby. From there, it turned into an actual job, a career. And when I was 19, got hired as a firefighter in Calipatria at a part-time status. And went to school here at IVC, became a paramedic. And I basically served Imperial County as a paramedic and a firefighter for 10 years, serving all over Imperial County. So I hit all corners of the county. Definitely seeing the needs of our underserved community, from seeing tragic situations to bringing life into this world. I'd like to say I'm very blessed that I learned a lot from what I've experienced. From there, I went to San Diego for 5 years. I was a site supervisor at the San Diego Zoo Safari Park.
Oh, wow.
Not working with animals. Those were the cool ones, though. I wish I did. But I did experience some pretty amazing opportunities there because I got to know some really cool people that were head of the mammal department, head of the bird department. So they'd take me to see some really neat things. Like I was in the gorilla bedrooms. I was in the tiger bedrooms. I petted a cheetah. Like I had some really beautiful moments while I worked there, and I met amazing people. And my job there wasn't exactly like what it was on the ambulance. I dealt with workers' compensation, saving money on claims, basically dealing with injuries in-house, and just serving the guests that would visit too and would get hurt and get splinters. I became a professional bee stinger removal there. So yes, I had a lot of fun there. San Diego is definitely a beautiful place, no doubt.
Expensive.
But yeah, it's expensive. I mean, you're paying for the amenities, right? That's what I like to say. It's like living in a condo that has a gym included inside with a nice warm indoor pool, right? That's basically what you get out of San Diego. You're going to pay for what you want your surroundings to be. Mm-hmm. But I enjoyed my time there, and I met amazing people. But I missed my roots. I missed my home. I missed knowing your neighbors. You know, San Diego, it's fast paced. And you do get to see people passing by, but you really don't keep to know who you live next door to, because everybody's just moving and a grooving. So I came back home, and it was a choice. And I came back home. At that point, I was already a mommy. My son, he was already 4 or 5, and then my daughter was born, my daughter Zoe. So we came home and established our roots back here in Calipatria. Everyone asked me, are you guys ever going to leave Calipat? I said, no, I have no intentions of living in Calipat. I'm one of the few people that say that, you know what, there is something absolutely beautiful about small town living. And I am lucky and blessed to say that I grew up in Calipat in a ranch town, a ranch home. My grandparents were ranchers, and there was something very amazing about that lifestyle. And you won't quite really understand it unless you live it. And it's nice to know exactly what you get out of your four stop. You have 1 4-way stop here, you know, and you know your entire surrounding. It's comforting. It's like a comfort blanket, right? So I came home, and it was the best decision of my life, coming home. The only difficulty besides coming home was the coming to terms with my future. When I came home, I started noticing my eldest son, Killian. He's 12 now. He was showing just differences. And when I mean differences, it's just he wasn't hitting milestones. He wasn't talking like he should. He didn't play like kids his age should play. He withdrew a lot. Like, he wasn't the kid that, you know, chased the crowd. He was the kid away from the crowd. And I also noticed his strengths that were peculiar, in a sense where I can't really, it wasn't normal. Like, he knew things that kids his age shouldn't know, if that makes any sense. Whether he could recite the ABCs out of sequence, or his numbers, he could recite them without having to identify shapes that are not normal shapes to identify at his age. So even though he wasn't hitting these milestones, I was noticing there was actually some strengths that were kind of unique. At that point, I started realizing he started school, and he was having a rough time. I knew there was something up. I didn't know what it was, but, you know, I just supported him. I supported him in the best that I could, and I just started realizing the more difficulties that he had, the less available I was for me to focus on my career. So at that point, he was in kinder, and I knew that I was going to have to step away from something that I adored. I loved my job. I was good at it. I know that sounds narcissistic. Huh? It does, but I was good at it. You talk to some of these now old heads. That's right. I'm calling you all out, old heads. All of my old heads from my fire service days and my Gold Cross days. You know, Gold Cross don't exist anymore, right? It's AMR now. You talk to them, and if you ask them, you worked with Estrada then. You know, that was my maiden. They tell you, like, she's a tough one. She didn't mess around. She made things happen. As a mover, I was a groover. I had good respect in the fire service community and the EMS community. I earned my name. You know, being a female in that world is not easy, especially during those times. It wasn't exactly as they used to say it, having a dame in the fire service EMS world, right? Is a very different thing to see. A girl driving a big fire truck. And I parallel park the heck out of those things better than I can a small impact car, let me tell you.
That's why you drive a big truck?
That's why I drive a big truck. Isn't she pretty, guys? She's pretty.
A big red one?
Let me tell you, I waited 38 years of my life to have that pretty little red beauty out there. I'm very proud of it. Can you see the love in my twinkle in my eye when I looked at her? Yeah. She's got my heart, let me tell you. She's got my heart. So yes, I loved my job. I did. I loved it. I was great at it. I'm a very ambitious personality, and I set challenges, and I set them high. I truly believe that our biggest disability is our own insecurity, right? So I refuse to allow myself to debilitate myself because of insecurities. You don't know what you can do unless you just do it, right? So when I started my career, I had the intentions of being one of the first female chiefs in the fire service here in Imperial County. I had big high hopes. But Killian definitely made a change in that. And even though it was difficult to accept, because there is an acceptance of it, you know, you're talking about a woman that used to jump into canals to drag people out of vehicles that are upside down, you know, or get called at the middle of the night to walk into a stranger's home and not knowing what's in there. You know, you just walk in. You don't think you just you have to respond. You do. To now, well, Jackie, you're going to hang up that towel and you're going to stay home. You're going to stay home now. And talk about the stigmas that come with, oh, you're a stay-at-home. I mean, I say it with that negative tone because basically that's what's been created out of that title. You're a homemaker. You're stay at home. And it was a very huge hit to my pride and my ego. I stepped down. I had to quit. I had to stop doing what I did it. And I let my paramedic license lapse. And that is so hard because it's not an easy thing to obtain. Oh my goodness. It was one of the most difficult academic challenges of my life. Not everybody makes it. There's 15, it started off with 13 of us, you know, completed the program. And I was the only female in the program.
Right.
You know, and then I had to let it go because my kids came first. At the moment, I didn't think it was the most fair choice. But of course, I was a woman that was grieving all her hard work and all yada, 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 all that stuff that comes with it. But it ended up being one of the best things that has ever happened to me. I poured my heart and my soul into advocating for my kid. And I say it like that because I want everybody that's listening that has lived my journey or is about to embark in this journey to understand that we're not stay-at-homes. We're advocates. This wasn't a choice. This was something a sacrifice that needed to be done for the betterment of our children. And I did that. I had to do that. So that's what I did. I poured my heart and soul into advocating for my child's needs and wants. My child formally got diagnosed a little later in his age. He was 7. He started off at 6. We diagnosed him with ADHD. And they didn't want to call it autism yet. They wanted to see, let's see how he unravels socially and all those little annoying little terms that they use to try to like make the blow not so hard. But you know, every parent knows. I mean, you grew this human in your body. You birthed it and it wasn't fun. Let me tell you that. It hurts. Whether it's a natural birth, C-section, doesn't matter. It all hurts. It all hurts. I mean, it's an emotional roller coaster ride hormonally and physically, and it's a out of this universe experience. So you know what you've created. You know what you've spent 24/7 with. You know when something's just not right. And a lot of us parents, we know. We just at times don't know what to call it. So they can diagnose them with ADHD, which later, you know, after I said, no, you guys are wrong. Like, I know what this is. This is definitely autism. It doesn't help out that I've got the medical background, you know, where it's like my job is to identify symptoms and treat it, right? So we don't diagnose, paramedics don't diagnose, CMS does not diagnose. We identify, you know, what it could be and we treat it. So I told him this is autism. And I went and got a second opinion, and he got diagnosed with level 2 autism with speech developmental delays and also intellectual disabilities. He had quite a few things under his belt that we knew were going to be challenges. I don't care who anybody is. Nobody's ever mentally prepared for having to hear that your child is going to be challenged trying to fit into what normal society is. It is what we often say is it's like a grieving process. And it is. You have this, are you a dad?
Yeah.
You're a dad, right? So you get the good news of your lady saying, hey, guess what? We're knocked up. Whoop, whoop. You know, and you feel awesome because you're like, sí se hizo, right? And you get that you go to your doctor's appointment and you see that little bean inside of that little weird little picture, the little alien growing. It's all growing. This little parasite growing inside of you that just, you're feeding it and you're nourishing it and you hear the heartbeat, and man, isn't that an amazing feeling? That hearing that sound for the first time, because they talk about feeling like, oh my gosh, high stress. Waiting till you hear those heartbeats, and every ultrasound, the same thing, or when they hit the Doppler on there, you're like, just hear the heartbeat, and you hear it, and you naturally, immediately, instantaneously, you fall in love, right? So then your mind starts thinking about the future, and you're like, oh, if it's a little girl, she's gonna be the most beautiful thing on the planet, and she's gonna be the next female president of the United States of America. Because you set those standards high for your own kids, right?
Yeah.
Because you want them to be better than you could ever be.
Exactly.
Right? If I have a son, he's going to be the tallest, strongest man in the universe. And he's going to create amazing, innovative things for the future. Yeah. Right?
I don't know about tall, but...
Even as shorties have this hope that our kids will be these giants among giants,
fortunately,
right?
my 12-year-old son is tall. He's taller than me now.
Yeah,
so.
well, you know what? My son, he's 12, and he's almost my size. And my daughter, Penny, she's going to be a shorty. She's a little itty-bitty little thing. So you hear the heartbeat, and your heart feels great, and you feel like this is it. Your life is changed forever, and you have these expectations of what you think will be, and your kid's born, and then you have you got your traviesos, you got your kids that are good. My Zoe, thank God I got one. She's a good one. She's a good seed that rarely gives me any issues, and then you get diagnosed. And your whole world falls apart. Let me tell you, we break.
Yeah.
We break. Every parent breaks. We do. And it's tough. And even I get emotional just thinking about those days. Yeah.
And it's crazy because my wife, she recently, 2 of her coworkers, had kids that recently got diagnosed. And then I have nephews, 2 nephews that... And one of them lives really close to me, so I spend a lot of time with him. And even though he's not my son, but you see the struggles, and especially with my sister-in-law and my sister. And now knowing that they were my wife's coworkers were disappointed when they got the news, but we were like, it's nothing. Just
it's just an adjustment.
Yeah,
and that's how I have to express right now. That's an adjustment. It's not the end of the world. It's an adjustment. Adjustment to change. That's life, right? Even with ourselves. Like, right out of high school, how jerky are we? Yeah. Oh my gosh, we think we know everything. Yeah. Oh my God, we're so rude. I look back at those days, I'm like, I was such an arrogant jerk. And I look at my daughter, Zoe, my middle child, and I'm like, oh my God, you're everything I was. This is going to totally suck going through teenage years with you. Yeah. But, you break. You break, and it's a very dark place to be in. It feels like nobody could relate to you. You feel like nobody will understand you, and sometimes you even feel like you can't even go to your own family for help because they can't understand you. If they don't live it, they can't understand it. And let's face it, when you're raised in a traditional Hispanic home, right? Nomás son huevones. Yeah. Es que no los pegan, no, you don't discipline. Yeah? There's always an excuse. No solution. The solution is we're not tough enough. We're not tough enough on our kids. My parents were tough on me. And I think they raised me to be a pretty strong, independent human. It wasn't a bad thing. I often say, it's like, you know what, if you were raised in a Hispanic tradition home, they had some wacky idealisms. They did. They did. But there's a lot of good that came in that, and take the good out of it and use that. And whatever might have been a little negative, let's kind of fine tune it a bit and turn it into something more positive. At least that's what I'm trying to do with my kids. They're okay right now, but I don't know how they'll be in a couple of years down the road. Pobrecito, estoy bien loca. So I'm sure they'll be fine though. But it's tough. You feel like you can't even, identify with your own family, your own blood. And I withdrew and I stepped back, and you isolate. Mm-hmm. It's very, very common. We isolate from the world. We hide away in our homes, in our little caves, and we just disappear. Killian was the most excellent learning experience for me. Because of him, so much has blossomed out of it. I often call him my inspiration, my motivation, my create and my elevate. And I learned everything that I could so I could help him. I seen things that just didn't work in school. I said, this isn't working. How can we fix it? You get in. That's how you fix it. You could be a parent that complains. Oh man, we all know those ones. Yeah. And I'm sorry, but complaining doesn't get us nowhere, everybody. It doesn't. Actions. Mm-hmm. Moving. Be the change. Yeah. Teamwork. That's the best thing you could possibly do. Approach every situation not as an enemy, but as a person that wants to work with the professionals. I'm the parent, right? I should tell you what my kid needs. But you're the professional when it comes to learning. I didn't go to school for that. Oh, Lord knows I should not be a teacher. Let me tell you. Bien burra. Academically, bien burra. No, but I got into parent school psych council. I started volunteering a lot of time there. And I got a lot of good support with the school because they said, okay, this person isn't one of those parents that want to make us look bad. She's not a parent that just wants to complain about how we do things because, hey, they're doing the best that they can.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think especially with, autism, there's so many, that's why they call it spectrum because there's so many different levels.
It's so broad. It's not just one. It's not just autism. There's so much obsessive compulsive disorder, anxiety disorder, Tourette syndrome. There's so much that falls within the umbrella. Within that umbrella. So it's not just one thing. Yeah. And a lot of people always say, oh, autism, your kid doesn't look like they got autism. Damn right. He's a good looking kid and she's a good looking girl. That's because genetics, baby. Están bien bonitos mis hijos. But it doesn't have a face. Mm-hmm. It's a behavioral disorder. Behavior. Yeah. And that's a lot of things that we need to teach. Mm. When we're out there and we're speaking to families or we're doing moments like this, it's getting out there and creating awareness. We're starting to hear more awareness about the word autism. People hear autism, they think of the puzzle pieces. They're like, oh, okay, it's kids that have special needs. But they don't quite understand it. Okay, let's get a little bit more into details about this. That's not too boring for you to understand. And it's about that. And now, I feel like my movement is all acceptance. It's not so much awareness because, again, everybody knows that autism exists. Everybody is starting to know the numbers. 1 in 58, are diagnosed with autism. This is 2016. 1 in 58. That means that everybody knows somebody living with autism. Yeah. That's crazy. Yeah. That's a lot. And we don't know why. They still don't know why. So much money getting poured into research. Why? Well, we know it's more than likely it's genetics, but it can't be just genetics. There's got to be a little bit more. Yeah. Oh, it's the vaccine. Oh, well, it's being debunked, guys, so it can't be that. There's something else. So we're pouring all of this money into finding research of what is causing it because I feel like it's crazy how it's ballooning. Mm-hmm. It's ballooning. I remember growing up and we all knew there was that one kid in the class that was very different.
Yeah, I was going to mention that.
Right?
Yeah.
They were very different. And now that we're older and we're beginning to learn about this world called autism, a word, autism. Oh, what does it have? Well, they're very introverted, antisocial. They kind of stick to themselves. Sometimes they have these self-soothing behaviors where they hum to themselves. Maybe they snap. Maybe, they're very obsessed with one thing and know everything expertise about whatever it is that they really love. Mm-hmm. Well, now we know what it is. It's called autism. It's nuts. The numbers are nuts. Mm-hmm. So we now struggle with, okay, they're here. My kid's here. Now what? Mm-hmm. Now what? Isn't that funny how the universe works, right? I become a mom. Once upon a time, I wasn't going to be a mom. I was going to be a hardworking woman that just dedicated my life to saving lives. Ay, bien, mira. Bien freaking lifesaver like Jackie. No. But I got married. And my husband then, now ex-husband, he's 11 years older than me. Oh my goodness. He really wanted a kid, and he's like, we should have a kid. And we had Killian, and it was the best thing that's ever happened to me, becoming a parent. I divorced my partner, or my ex-husband, and then I got into a relationship, and we had Zoe, and we had then Penny, my youngest, Penelope Gwen. She's now 5. No, 6. I'm sorry. She just had a birthday. She's 6. I have a 6-year-old, a 7-year-old, and a 12-year-old. 6 and 7. That is just the craziest thing I could have ever done in my life, was have back-to-back kids. Let me tell you, insanity. With Penny, because I learned so much already at that point because of Killian. I was so heavily involved at that point into the special needs community, already learning what's an IEP, what's a 504, what is Imperial County Behavioral Health versus San Diego Regional Center. Like, I already knew the differences. And I identified my daughter Penelope's autism when she was very, very little. I'm talking about infancy.
Oh, wow.
That's how quick I identified my daughter's autism. There's a 60% chance of you having another child with autism. So if you have, got to talk about numbers, right? I'm big on numbers, guys. Numbers don't lie. If you have one child that's born with autism, there's a 60% chance that you're going to have another child with autism. Okay? A lot of times it skips. When I say that, my oldest has autism. My middle child, Zoe, does not have autism. And then there's Penny, boom, she has autism. That's very common when it comes to having children with autism, And it's interesting because my son is from another dad, and then my daughters are from another dad. So, hello, like, talk about juicy research right there. I got a hold of Sparks, the Sparks, it's research thing that's ran by, what is it, UCLA? No. It's in UCSD. I'm sorry, UCSD, Sparks. And I got a hold of them. I'm like, you guys want to totally check my DNA. I know, that's so weird, right? I was like, please check my DNA, take my swab, take my saliva, learn. I'm big on that. I'm big on researches. If I could help be an answer, count me in 100%. So I was like, swab us. I haven't gotten any kickbacks. It takes a very long time. It's been over a year, but I was curious. It's like, I have a son and a daughter, 2 different dads. Clearly, genetically, is it coming from me? What is the common denominator here? My daughter Penny, she is diagnosed at, I started her early, super early, guys. And if you have a child that thinks that may be having some delays in their milestone, and that's the best way to explain it. If at any given moment you don't think your kid's crawling, sitting up, even not having much facial expressions, because I'm telling you, I caught my Penny's autism super early. She must have been about 6 months old when I started saying something's up. She wasn't rolling when she should have rolled. She wasn't sitting up when she should have sat up. She was a very angry baby. Even when colics are past that. Because, in the beginning, colics are always the cause of angry little babies, right? And a lot of parents wanting to just give up on life. But my baby was angry. She was a very unhappy baby. And at 6 months, I'm like, something's up. So when she was about a year and some change, I started her in this program that's pretty awesome, that I highly encourage families to utilize. It is called the Early Start program. It's early intervention, and it's ran through San Diego Regional Center. We do have an office here in Imperial County. If you call it, it's going to direct you to San Diego. They answer, they say, hey, what's going on? If you have a child under 3 years of age, okay, that is showing early signs of possible autism, you could get services. You go through these little tests. It's it's painless. It just takes a little time. And based off of some of the characteristics that your child's presenting when they evaluate your child, they say, you know what, let's go ahead and plug you guys in with Early Start. Early Start is I like to call it a introduction to ABA services. ABA is Applied Behavioral Analysis, okay? That's what a lot of our kids in the spectrum, they receive therapy services. They get ABA hours, and they teach kids daily living skills and how to work through some of their quirks, I like to say. But early intervention is basically a little small intro to that. And 2 days a week, they come visit you at your home for an hour. I know that doesn't sound like much, but trust me, those 2 hours a week make a world of a difference. And they start working on some of those behaviors with your kid. So by the time your child's old enough to test for the official diagnosis, they have to be 2 years, 9 months to get officially tested for autism. Okay? If you're already in early start program, it's like an easy rollover. You already have a caseworker working your child's case, and they'll remind you when it's coming up, saying, hey, Jackie, Penny's coming up to her 2 year, 9 months. Let's get her plugged into her test. And they test your kid. And by 2 years, 9 months, my Penelope, my baby, my youngest, she was diagnosed with autism as well. It's interesting having kids in the spectrum, as in plural kids too, because they're so very different than one another. Oh my goodness. Talk about so much different. Once you had a boy and you got a girl. Man, let me tell you, us girls, and I hope this doesn't give you any fuel for I knew it. Women are great at masking. Do you know what masking is? We kind of put this good cover up, this good face. Like it's almost like when your girl gets mad at you, right? And you're like, are you okay? She's like, I'm fine. And those words, you're in trouble, man. You're in trouble. So naturally, we're good at those. Yeah, we're good at that. While females in the spectrum, they have a really good way of masking, because the way they relate is they relate by saying, oh, I'm going to mimic how you do things, and I'm going to perfect that. And they wear the best masks you can think of. They're great. They're great at it. So with Penny, a lot of her behavior, she would mask. It's like, I just mimic what you're doing, and this is how you deal with things. So it's really hard to read her sometimes until she finally goes kaboom, and she goes kaboom. My son, he's more chill, laid back, loving, quiet. He's sensory seeking, where he loves feeling and touching. Kids in the spectrum, they either hate to be touched or they love to be touched. Yeah. It's like one extreme to the other. When I say love to be touched, it's like you're on ecstasy 24/7. It's like he always has to be touching my skin with his pata or something, and it's like, stop. But it's soothing. It's soothing. And then there's some kids where it's too much. It's painful. My Penny Killian was the one that loved to be touched. My Penny was the one that, please don't touch me. I don't want you to touch me. So it's two very different extremes. I was like, esa niña con su Latina rage, it's no joke. But yes, with Penny, I diagnosed her early. She was just under 3, and we rolled over to ABA services, and it was super smooth transition. Didn't mean it didn't hurt when I heard it. Okay, because when you start early start, they say she is showing signs of. They cannot diagnose. Yeah. Okay, they could only speculate. We think she will possibly have it, but we can't say she does. So when she got diagnosed, it was like, oh my God, talk about let's just reopen some old wounds. It was, wow, it was a blow. But I will say, because of the strength that I gained out of learning from Killian, that blow did come like a ton of bricks. But I was able to just kind of get out of that rut really fast. Whereas with Killian, it took a while. I think with Penny, I had already come to terms with my future. And ya ni modo, I can't work anymore, not the way I expected to. But with Penny, I already was ready. I was like, I know what you need, girl. I got your back. So it was easier because I already knew what I needed to do. Well, okay, she's got diagnosed. I need to get her set up with an IEP. We need to get speech services started. We need to start doing ABA as many hours as possible. It's crazy. And so you're managing this. Humans, you got to have a calendar for these children. Yeah. You do. And every single day you got something going on. It's like your average child, we call it a neurotypical person, right? That's a person without limitations, a person with no diagnosis, right? The typical life is you go to school and you come home and you do homework and you unwind. If you have sports, you have sports. No, that's not our life. That's not our life. You go to school, we come home, we do homework, we do ABA. We're lucky if our day is over by 7 o'clock in the evening. So already there, you're seeing a lot of your kids' life taken away on just learning how to be accepted in your community.
Trying to catch up.
That's what it comes down to, is learning ways to live socially comfortable with your environment, right? Well, that's what you do. It's what you need to do, right? Well, my son was missing out on a lot because of ABA. I love sports. I'm a sports fan, except basketball. It's garbage. Ooh,
really?
I lost a lot of like friends right now, by saying that.
But why do you think that?
I don't like basketball. I just don't like it. You know, I love sports. I'm very active. I love baseball. Oh, baseball is life. I love playing softball.
Baseball's kind of boring.
No, you're crazy. Get out of town. Get out of here. I'm leaving.
You're just standing there.
No, you don't stand there, buddy. You cheer and you send them positive vibes. And you're like, ándale, si se puede.
But playing it.
Huh?
When you play it, you're just...
I love playing it. Oh, what are you talking about? If you did not have fun playing, it's because they put you in a place where there's no action, homie.
No,
Sorry.
I never played baseball because I thought it was boring.
No, it's so much fun.
I played basketball and football, so...
Oh, that's why you're offended, huh?
No.
I see where we stand here, buddy.
My number one.
Touche. Touche. No, I love sports. I love baseball. I love soccer. I love being physically just active. And I so desperately always wanted to have a son so I could experience that crazy mom, wear shirts, scream out loud, cheer for your kid type of experience. And
the mom band. Yeah. I mean, you needed a mom band.
Yeah. So I've put Killian in sports. I always have, but he always had a really rough time in it. He was not part of the A team. He was benched a lot. He was, and he hated it. He was discouraged, but I always kept him in there because I'm like, no, son, you're gonna eventually like it. And that's actually what ABA is about. They teach you routine, structure, don't give up, just stick to it. Get those, that backbone, don't give up.
Yeah.
Actually, everybody needs to use ABA in their home, not just children with behavioral, but just people in general. Like, it's just kind of like a great way to manage your life. I'm not kidding. So it's a good thing to have. Anywho, around 8-9 years old, and that's when my son started phasing out, because that's when it started getting very competitive. You got T-ball, these beginner level status of play. It's learning the fundamentals of the sport, right? When he started getting to that age, that's when it started getting super competitive. And these kids are getting strong. They're hitting line drives. They're leaving them in the dust when it comes to soccer. Like, he's just like, I don't want to do this. Like, I don't like it, Mom. And I'm like, no, you're going to like it. I mean, you will like it. No, I was like, no, you're going to like it, son. And I actually, soccer season at the time, Calipatra Powell was resurrected from the death. It was dead.
Yeah.
It was stagnant. It was stagnant for about 4 years. They just kind of let it go. And Calipat, it's a lot like a lot of our towns here in Imperial County. They're not really ran by Parks and Recreations from your city. So there's no actual paid staff. It's all volunteer. It's all volunteer. And in Calipat, we don't have a Parks and Recreations department. But there is nonprofits that exist. And in these nonprofits, if people are, the community is willing to man them, it's there. So Calipatra Powell has been in existence since 1999. Once upon a time, it was ran by the actual police department. And since then, they just kind of handed it over to the community. And they're like, you guys got it. And then parents started like, oh, we'll try it. And then they realized, oh, this is a lot of work. You're trying to manage kids, work, life, all of the above. And it's just, you don't get a solid team that will stick around and see it, really blossom into something amazing for the community. Although I completely put my hands down to everybody that does that work because it's not easy. It's never given 110%. It's not. It's not a priority.
Yeah, and I think that, you mentioned that it takes time, you have lives. So like when you expect the police department to run, and especially here in Calexico, they have a police department that's understaffed.
Yep.
I mean, you can't expect.
No, you can't. You can't. some of these bigger towns, like, for a while there, Brawley, El Centro, they've had like an actual officer actually get paid for their time to find grants and to run these programs and make sure that they keep, these at-risk youth busy. But you're seeing less and less of that. Yeah. Less of that funding going into allowing that, or just understaffed, period. So that's Calipat. I mean, Calipat, we have one cop, on shift. It's what it is, So, in 2018, after 4 years of Calipatropal, kind of just nothing happening with it. The city allows us space. They give us a building, and it's just sitting there decaying, and nobody was doing with it. A good team of people at the time took the lead to like resurrect it. Arturo Aguayo, he was the president at the time, and he got his people to come in and they rebirthed it. And they started soccer. And that's when I approached them. I said, hey, can I have a team, a special needs team? And he said, absolutely. Like, he didn't even hesitate. You got it, Jackie. I said, don't stress anything. I'll take care of my own registration. I'll find my own sponsorships. I'll find my own team. And so I found all the parents in Calipat that are willing, because one of the biggest things is a parent getting comfortable with the idea of living a very much normal life, because we cocoon our kids. Like, we're very guilty of doing it. Our kids get diagnosed, and we just don't want our kids to get taunted or messed with or bullied or be the laughing stock. So we overly like just cocoon them, and we're like, nope, we don't want to say this. So a lot of parents weren't really open to the idea. Here in Imperial County, the only thing you really have is the Special Olympics. They do swim, and they do bowling. And then the Challengers division of baseball play that was ran in Imperial by the IV Challengers League. Those were the only three things that existed. Soccer didn't exist for special needs. One day I was doing ABA therapy with my son, and my BT, we call them our BTs, our behavioral therapists. They become family. Yeah. Your therapists that come to your home 5 days a week, and they spend 3-4 hour days with you, they become family. They basically are young people that become parents before they were even parents, because they're learning how to work with children like ours, which at times are not very easy to deal with. So they become young parents, and they become battered and bruised just like us, and they live it with us, and they live the heartaches and they celebrate the milestones that we reach together. So they become family. She was sitting there. She's an amazing girl, Arlette. She's like, you know what, Jackie? I seen a flyer floating around for a team in Calexico that's special needs. I'm like, shut up. Really? She's like, yeah. So she found it. She sent it to me. And that's when I called the number. And that's when I first met Paulette. In 2018, I called up, and she probably was like gonna like pass the phone call because it's a 609 number. She's like, oh, scam alert. No, she's like, no, I don't want to renew my auto insurance. But she answered, and I'll never forget the tone of her voice. It was like, hello? Like, and I'm like, hey, all peppy and annoying, I bet. All amped, 100 miles an hour, like I just drank like two monsters, right? Chased it with the Red Bull and God knows what else. I was like, hey, buddy, you want to play? Like a little kid. I felt like a kid. That feeling when you go to you knock on your friend's door. Oh, we don't do that anymore, right? We text now. But back in our day, buddy, because we old, you knock on your homie's house, right? And you're like, hey, can he come out and play? Can she come out and play? And te vas en tus bicis, to go be desmadrosos. I called her and I said, hey, my name is, and I've got a team of 7 kids, and I'm wondering if you guys want to play with us. And at that time, her voice was very reluctant, like kind of like, what's going on? And she's like, you know what, let me talk to my parents because we have some kids that are pretty severe. And I said, well, look, the expectations are just, let's have fun.
Run around and... Let's
have a good time. Let's teach the kids how to kick the ball, what the goal is, the fundamentals, and just have a good time. Let's see where it goes. She called me back a week later and said, we're down. And I said, all right, let's have a game. So we had the very first game. You see, I have these very sweet, like, I rally cheese moments. First day in history of Imperial County. And the first soccer game in Calipat, in a little dirt lot on the east side of Calipat. We had our first game there. And it was a very moving and emotional day because not just me, but these 13 other parents that once upon a time didn't think there was other kids that wanted to play with theirs. It happened there in Calipat.
Yeah.
And Calipat's a very supportive community.
Dang, you're going to make me cry.
I'm sorry. Calipat's a really supportive community. It really is. You don't need to know anybody to just spread that love, that positivity when it comes to Calipat. We support. That's what we do. And that moment when we hit the whistle and the kids just, all the dirt lifted up. It looked like straight out of like a cartoon with all the dirt. Yeah, it did. Everywhere, just dust everywhere. And you hear all these families just cheering and having a good time. And just, it was such a beautiful moment and very moving. And that was history. So between my 7 and her 7, the following year, I stole her. And I'm like, let's get together. Let's create a huge league. Let's see what happens. We went from those 7 and 7-14 to 32 in 2019. Wow. And we played at Ricochet. The Ricochet people were amazing hosting us, and they wouldn't charge us, but we took care of them. We became staff. We'd laugh every time we'd go to a game. I'm like, punching in for my 7-hour shift, guys. Because we would spend a full day there, like cleaning, because we'd clean up after ourselves. That's the least we could do. Yeah. It was a heartache seeing Ricochet close down. Yeah. Our community lost something we needed it. Yeah. And what do their kids do in the summer now? It's so hot. COVID sucks, and it took away a lot from us, a year and a half of our lives. But most importantly, some of these programs, these businesses that we so desperately needed for, just our mental wellness. Because there's something very fun about going to Ricochet and jumping around or watching your kids act like animals, thinking they're all acrobats.
You're like, man, I'm going to sleep tonight.
Yeah, right? You're like, oh, and you're drinking your cheve. You're like, have fun, kids. See you in an hour. Yeah. Hey, the first one that cries, party's over, homie. Right? Yep. Yeah. But from 7 to 32, and during COVID, we had that little break where they allowed us to do what they called conditioning. That's what the state calls it. So we're not allowed to play, but we're allowed to condition. So during conditioning, we had 51 kids. Wow. And this year we had 49, and we were actually able to play. So it's crazy. If you think about the timeline, 2018 to now serving that many, but what we started seeing in our kids weren't just kids playing, which is every child deserves that. There is no reason why a child should not have a very normal childhood. We saw our kids progress at a level that we can't even understand and explain. Mm. I'm not a professional. I'm just a parent. Yeah. A parent that wanted more for their kid. And that more wasn't much more. It was just, I just want my kid to play. Mm-hmm. That's all I want. I don't want anything other than that. And let me tell you, it hasn't been easy. It's never easy. You got to find funds. You got to find collaborators, partners, space. Space is the biggest thing. Yeah.
Especially here where it's like you can't really be outside.
Let me tell you about here. Let me tell you. Everybody needs to work their way in. There's no such thing, and this is one of the things that I stress to a lot of our families. It's like, you can't just walk in and say, I have a child with special needs and I deserve everything. Mm-hmm. That's not how it works. You still have to earn your way. There's still a way things work. There's still people that were in line before you, mm-hmm. So you have to be patient. You have to be respectful, and you can't undermine. That's the biggest mistake. Undermining people that you want to work with. That is the silliest thing you could possibly do. Just shoot your own foot. Why don't you? Right? Getting space, going to neighbors. You go as a Calipat entity, at the time Calipatch Pal. You go in and they're like, hey, I'm from Calipat. Can I borrow your fields? And they're like, what the heck are you doing here, Calipat? Don't you have cows to shepherd? Oh, no. They're like, well, we already have this league and this league that. It's like, look, there's not a lot of us. We just need a little bit of space. Opening the doors to all of Imperial County was the smartest thing we could have done because it did allow more kids to come in and enjoy themselves, right? But it also opened up a new door for me where I'm like, Jackie, you got to coordinate like no other. Like now, because I wanted to make it accessible to all our families. Because I'm not going to lie to you. When I do what I do 110% with pure compassion and love for the kids that are involved and their families, the parents. And once you see that happiness that comes out of a child that hits their first goal, or a parent cheering their child's first goal, it is like a drug. Yeah. Let me tell you, you're like, I need more of this. I want to be more involved in this. I want to bring this to the families. So you have to, like, how do you become more accessible? You get in. Let's sit down, let's have a meeting. Hey, I'm Jackie, what's up? Get to know me. Yeah, I'm a little weird looking. I'm sorry. I'm a little, because as you can see, I'm a little colorful. I am not exactly your typical, what would be like, once upon a time I tried to be a politician. It didn't work. Womp, womp, womp. But it's okay. All right? I'm not exactly the spitting image of what a person that does this stuff looks like. Mm-hmm. No, I'm not. It's okay. I'm okay with that, guys. But building and establishing those new relationships and really networking, right? And it took a while. Like, can I get space? Like, no. We had a lot of shut doors. If you're not competitive, you're not bringing trophies in, then really, what do you want? Yeah. Right? It's changing that mindset. We're so far behind the games when it comes to everything. Imperial County is so far behind on everything. It's not just the special needs community. It's just an underserved community in general. Mm-hmm. We have no money. We have very little resources. We're already in a tough spot. And then you add the special needs community, think about how much less we have. Mm. So much less. So you establish those relationships and you start teaching them. Use it as a learning opportunity, a tool. A teaching opportunity to get to know these people that run the big show. I'm just a little person, a little fish in the pond. But let me teach you what I can teach. Let this crazy lady teach you a little bit about something. And you do. You reach out and it's like, hey, I'm a parent. I'm not just an organizer, but I'm a parent. I'm also a coach. Guess what? Like, I don't just come here and ask for space, but I coach in Calapat, Island, Westmoreland, Bombay, and Imperial. Ask me if I have enough minutes of the day to go to the gym now, Jose. You don't. You don't. But it's okay. It's not a sacrifice when you're having a good time, because my kids are out there and they're having fun and they're having friends and it's a good time. So it's been a tough journey, but it's been very rewarding. And now we have an absolutely amazing soccer league. Let me tell you, in 2019, we got invited to do this, what is called a Parade of Champions. Okay, so we went to San Diego because we do outings now. We support each other's families, and we're like, hey, we're gonna go to Vagos. Yeah. We're going to San Diego. We're going to Costa Mesa. We go everywhere. We ain't scared. So
yeah, I have a question. One of the places you went, but
okay, we'll get to that right now. Yeah. So we got invited to do the Parade of Champions for a semi-soccer league in San Diego called the teams, the Soccers. S-O-C-K-E-R, Soccers, not soccer, S-O-C-C-E-R, like calcetines. Yeah. We got invited and we went. And we had a big group of us. We went and the kids wore their jerseys and it was so fun going to a semi-pro soccer game. You have your college, fanatics that go and they go cheer on their team and they come full colors and they have their drums and they're chanting all their chants. And there's our chamacos, sin vergüenza, in the crowd, beating the drums. By the end of the game, they knew all the chants. And these college students were having a blast with the kids. Wow. They were partying hard with the kids. And all I could see is the future. I'm like, the future is, look, mis niños van a estar bien borrachos, freaking in the stands, freaking partying hard como estos niños aquí. I was like, you couldn't help but to see your future that laid ahead. But it didn't make me angry. I was just kind of like, I hope so. Yeah. I so desperately want my kid to have that life, But they called us up to do this Parade of Champion, and what it gives you an opportunity to walk the actual field, the playing field. Oh, okay. And we line up, And this is San Diego, okay? We line up, and we are the only special needs soccer team there.
Wow.
How? How is it in such a huge county, Imperial County came forward with an inclusive soccer league? How?
Mm-hmm.
We got a lot of work ahead of us, Jose. A lot. Because here we are as parents making that change, being the difference, bringing in acceptance, bringing in awareness, bringing in that positive influence, that change, that motivation, that inspiration, right? How is it that it's Imperial County that's here representing a humongous community? Numbers, right? We like numbers. Talk about numbers. 37% of the United States is considered disabled. 37%.
Wow.
1 in 4 adults with autism have a full-time job. If 1 in 58 are diagnosed, think about the number of people living with these diagnoses as adults, right? Not being able to live an as much normal life as possible. Mm-hmm. And here in Imperial County, we're creating these positive changes that could eventually lead to a more productive adult. Mm. It's Imperial County making them change, taking the lead. That's amazing. That's something to be proud of. Yeah. I stood at that moment of realization with Paulette. Me and Paulette, we were over there and we're like, this is crazy. This is crazy. Just withholding, just thinking about how is it that us two moms at one moment in our crazy life, we found each other and we're here in San Diego representing the special needs community, saying, hey, we exist and we want to play. What's up? It was awesome. We stole the show. And let me tell you, everywhere we go, we steal the show. We can't help it. And we're not just good looking, guys. We're entertaining. No. But it was an amazing moment where it's like you really realize, like, you know what, there's a lack of sports and recreations for our community. Mm-hmm. Now it lit a fire. I'm very passionate about doing what's right. I'm very passionate about being the voice. And the one thing I've learned about working with our kids is that when our kids are born with differences and limitations and they're out there doing things that we can't even do because we're so shy about it, you know, and insecure. Like, ahí están bailando, ahí están singing. They're doing these things that you can't catch me doing because, like, oh my God, I've learned so much from them. You know what? We need to push it. We need to push this acceptance because, you know what? You guys deserve it. And you know what I'm seeing? I'm seeing some amazing brains, some talent, some gifts. And that's the whole mission. All right, we did soccer. Okay, let's do soccer. Let's do dance. Guys, I don't know how to dance. Oh, well, pues ni modo, we'll learn. You know, and we did. We hired somebody to choreograph songs for us and we learned them and we taught them for the kids. 45 kids. Can you believe that? Our first performance was at the Cattle Call Mini Rodeo in 2019 in front of a lot of their peers. That event brings in over 1,000 people. 1,000 people at an arena. And our kids danced in front of everybody. Prideful, joyful. And there was not a single person that was not smiling or in tears watching them perform. The confidence. My goodness. And some of that talent, I didn't know my son could dance until we started dance. I was like, wow, kid, you can dance. He can dance. He's really good at it. Oh, what else? Let's do different events. Let's do a Halloween event. Let's do an Easter event. And now it's like a all year round, nonstop doing something.
When does Best Step Forward
come into play?
Okay,
so 2018 soccer was at the end of the year. Right. So 2019, that's when we hit it hard. Like, we're like doing all sorts of stuff. We did dance, we were doing soccer, and I'm like, you know what? I don't like being called special needs programs. I don't. It's going to take a long time to kind of change a lot of these verbiage. It's not offensive. It's just like, let's just not identify as our differences, right? Let's not identify as a label. I mean, there's Major League Baseball. There's, soccer, professional soccer. There's all of these. There's What's basketball called? Just kidding. You know what I mean. But point being is there's these divisions of play that identify what category you play in, right? And so I'm like, you know what? We started making little changes here and there. And we're not special needs soccer. We're the goleros. Baseball is challengers division of play. You know, our dance kids, it's activate dance mode. And it's all catered for an inclusive environment for the kids. So in early 2019, I'm talking early, like this was actually towards the end of the soccer season. One of our soccer games, we had to cancel it because it was raining. And so we met at Denny's and we finished 3 bottles of champagne and mimosas. And let me tell you, some of my best ideas is under the influence of alcohol. Yes, I'm a mommy that drinks. That's how I survive, folks. We came up with our name, and it was Best Step Forward. STEP stands for Sports, Theater, Expression, and Perseverance. We felt that it was fitting. As you can see, I like art. I'm huge on the tattoo, industry, artwork, any positive way to express yourself. Because that's what it started kind of unraveling. It started unraveling like, well, what can my child do for a living? I know that has been one of my number one concerns since my children were diagnosed, right? What can my child be good at? Let's find it. I love music. I love anything that allows a person to not just think directly, well, here in Imperial County, what do you got? You could be a CO, you could work for IID, you could work for these corporate chain, stores. There's not very many options. But there's theater, there's art, there's so much more out there. Music, there's talent. We have talent here in Imperial County. Huge talent. A good friend of mine who plays in a band here, and I'm not going to say it.
Say it.
I'm not going to say it.
Why not?
Because I just found out yesterday, and I'm not going to be a rata. I'm not one of them. But he just found out that he's going to open up for trap in Hollywood.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that awesome?
Say the name.
Nope.
All right. I'll ask you after.
I don't kiss and tell, buddy.
I'll ask you later.
I've got manners. No, I can't say yet.
Okay.
But isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
There's talent here.
Yeah.
There's talent here, and I see it in our kids. Some of our most brilliant minds are people that have autism. Some of the most innovative creators. Hell, look at freaking Tesla. What's his name?
Elon Musk.
Elon Musk. He's got Asperger's.
Oh, wow.
Amazing minds. Actors, comedians, you name it. Autism. It's not a disability that means they're not capable. Absolutely not. And they just do things a little bit different, and we just need to work with them. So that's what kind of like lit that fire. In 2019, we started seeing the committee kind of just dwindling away from Calipap-Pal. They were kind of becoming more absent, not really coming around. I was holding it up big time for the entire organization because I don't just do special needs. Like, again, you're talking to a person that loves sports. I'm competitive. So I was doing Calipatra Little League as well. Competitive play. Not just T-ball, but I'm helping out with every kid possible. You go to Calipat, and I go into the schools, you got a bunch of kids, Coach Jackie, Coach Jackie, Coach Jackie, and they go nuts. And they're just, I'm not even their coach, but they call me Coach Jackie. But I love the kids. And if I could help the kids out, I will do that. If I need to keep the kids busy, I will keep them busy. So in my life, my day-to-day, you're going to catch me working 1 hour with the special needs kids and then 1 hour with the competitive league. And these are teams that my kids aren't even playing with. Like this soccer season, I coached myself 49 kids.
Wow.
That is a mix of my special needs kids and then my competitive league. There's just a lack of mentors. And I can't just leave my kids behind. They're all my bonus babies. I love them so much. I really do. I can't not help them. So I started seeing, less activity coming from the committee. They were getting busy. I understood that completely, but it was also holding us back. And what we were bringing, we said, we're Best Step Forward. We're going to be the division that caters specifically for the special needs community. And then you guys have what you have. Well, nothing was happening on that end. And I'm like, I see that our kids are missing out on opportunities. Like, why not? And then 2020, we said, all right, guys, it's time. At this point, we had developed such a strong team with Best Step Forward. Oh my gosh. My team, hands down, is the best team on the universe. And I mean that with all of my heart. I adore them. Our organization would not be what it is if it wasn't for their strong support. Because I'm the crazy lady with all the ideas. I will admit that. And they tell me, me vas a matar, Jackie. Like, calm it down. I constantly have ideas. Constantly. But they execute. So, I mean, I'm there getting dirty, but if I'm coaching 49 kids, that means things over here at the admin level of it needs to get picked up. So that's where the rest of my committee comes in. Don't worry, Jack, I got you. And if in return they're like, hey, Jackie, I will do whatever you want because that's the least I could do for you. Yeah. That support. I got the best committee on the planet, and we're scattered. And you got out here in Calexico. I have a committee in El Centro, Imperial, Raleigh, Calapat. We're everywhere. And that's what I think that's creating such an awesome organization, is because we bring in that input from each city. And not just each city, each school district. Oh my God, we're a nightmare. And I mean that in the most positive way. So when families are brand new to this world like me, when I was once upon a time a baby in this journey, and I was alone, and I didn't know what to do, and I didn't know where to go. I was alone trying to figure it out. I won't let somebody go through that. I can't. That would be a disservice. That would be cruel. Cruel and unusual punishment, because let me tell you, it's rough. So we guide families. Hey, you're diagnosed, or you think you might have something, hit me up. I'm reachable. Text me, call me, email me. I'll help you get through it. Oh, you know what? You don't understand your IEP? Let me help you through it. I could help you with that. Oh, you know what? You don't think that your IEP fits your kid? All right, let's get a team of people. Let's sit down and talk about it. And we get our team to come in. When our team sits down, our Mama IEP team, let me tell you, there's advocates that get paid to represent. You know what an advocate is? I'm an advocate. She's an advocate. We're advocates. There's really no paper that really justifies your criteria of being an advocate. You just have to have a voice and opinions and a doer and a mover, and you could be an advocate. There's advocates out there. I mean, of course, it's nice to have that paper, right? Paper doesn't make money all the time, right? And I'm proof of that. Yeah. In just this past year alone, less than a year, we've already brought in about $40,000 to our programs. Wow. Explain that to me. Yeah. What were we once upon a time before we became Best Step Forward committee members? They would call us what? Stay-at-homes? Oh, hell. These stay-at-homes make money. We do. The passion, the mission, the ambition is bringing it in, and it's all for the kids. I don't get paid for what I do, but let me tell you, our programs get paid for it, and that's awesome. And it's funny because they'll be like, oh, Jackie, how much money are you going to try to find? Oh, I need to find $100,000 in freaking 6 months. You're insane. We could do it. Trust me. We could do it. I believe that we can do it. I know we can do it. And that's what it takes, that positive mental attitude, as I always say. Positive mental attitude as I'm rocking on my little panda chair. Bien loca. But yeah, advocates will charge up to $5,000 to retain. $7,000 at times to retain. They're not attorneys. Attorneys is more, but I've got to say, I found some awesome attorneys that do it on the house for families that qualify. But what about these families that don't know these attorneys that exist? And they're being misguided by resources, mind you, in our community. Yeah. Resources in our community that says, you have a problem with your child's IEP and you don't understand what's going on and you feel like your child is being, their rights are being violated. I got a person for you. It's going to cost you $6,000, $7,000 though. Holy hell, you're talking about families that are one-income homes, if lucky. We know families that are alone, tragically alone with their special needs kids. $7,000 doesn't come around for them. It doesn't happen. And that is your recommendation as a resource. We trust you. No. I'm on a mission to get rid of that nonsense. I will come and I will support you and I will sit and I will read your child's IEP. And I'm not the smartest freaking person on the planet or the brightest crayon in the coloring box. I will
That's
admit.
the first time I heard that.
Really?
Yeah. I heard the sharpest in the shed before.
Yeah, but not the brightest crayon in the crayon box.
No.
I'm going to tell you where I learned that from, and I'm going to say it right here. Eddie Baxter. Eddie Baxter. Right now, if my homies are listening, they're like, oh, Eddie Baxter. Eddie Baxter is a paramedic here in Gold Cross for, oh my God, a millennium. Bien viejito ya. He was viejito when I was in, and I'm sure he's like, ya está 1 foot in the grave. Sorry, Eddie. No, but you know what? I'm not sorry. I take that back because he's the one that taught me that word because he would call us that. He's like, you're not the brightest crayon in the crayon box. I'm like, that hurt. But that's where I learned it from. You heard it here. I give credit where the credit is due. But that's where I heard it. No, we're on a mission to, I feel like that is such a misguidance and such a ugly thing for resources to do is misguide families, vulnerable families. And it's like, why would you do that? Like, that is so ugly. There is attorneys out there that do it for free. CRLA. It's California Rural Legal Assistance. They do free representation for your families if there's their violations or their rights are being violated in the schools in general. Free attorneys. And they're awesome. I got to know them and they're great. Good people. They really love what they do and they really want to make a difference. In fact, one of the ladies that works for CRLA, I saw her and I was like, there's something very empowering about her presence. You vibe? Do you vibe?
Yeah.
I vibe. I totally vibe. And I vibed. I saw her. I'm like, there's something very powerful about her presence. Tiny little thing. Older woman. She's probably like in her early 50s. Maybe 5'1" at best. Maybe weighs 90 pounds. Wet, you know. But there was something very empowering about her when I met her. And she was a very sweet woman. She came to me. She's like, I like you. You're not afraid to speak up, even when it's a district, superintendent. Because they came to visit and we're like, Mama, what are you doing here? It wasn't one of mine in Calapat. My Calapat school district peeps they're rock solid. But I was like, what's this guy doing here? You don't belong here. This is our safe place. You're in our safe place. Kick rocks. No. But I spoke up and she came up to me. She's like, I like you. She's like, you got fire in you. And we need more of that. And I was like, I'm like, God, there's something about this little tiny human's presence that I'm just like, I want to know about you. Let's talk. I got pulled aside. They're like, she used to be a part of the team that would like smuggle around Cesar Chavez back in the days when he used to have hits on him. Oh, okay. They were trying to kill him. And I'm like, I knew she had something bien chingona about her. Oh, what? I just knew it. You just knew it. You felt it. You feel that empowerment.
You kind of give that vibe too.
I give that vibe?
To me, and when I first saw you when you were running, I was like, you give me that kind of like Gwen Stefani kind of vibe, like
my hollow bat girl.
Yeah. No, but I mean, like, and now like hearing you talk, like, because I mean, I saw that kind of like debate you guys had with
Meet the Candidates.
Yeah. And yeah, like I kind of felt like you were somebody that spoke their mind and wasn't afraid to say what they felt, and especially when because I kind of knew that you were a firefighter and the paramedic, and yeah, like it's rare to see like a female in that environment, in that area,
in the industry.
So like, yeah, like I kind of like knew that you weren't somebody that take people's crap, So yeah, like I mean, it's funny that you got that vibe from her because I kind of
Oh, well, thank you. That's actually a pretty darn cool compliment, right? No, yeah, I do not accept no's. I think that the success with Best Step Forward since we took over, because in 2020, as I was mentioning before, I always circle off and then I round right back around to the question that was asked. We came forward and we said, look, I got an amazing team that supports and they really want good things to happen. Let's make this grow. As long as we keep it as Calipatra PAL, which isn't even supported by our local police department, we should change it. It should be best step forward, and we should just make it an inclusive program where we offer division of play for not just special needs, but for, competitive. Let's break some of these stigmas, these labels, these names, these roles, all of this. Let's just break all of that. I'm like, so let's change it or we're out. And Arturo Aguayo, the president at the time, again, very supportive of everything that I had done. He said, Jackie, you know what? You've been holding it down this whole time. Take it. It's yours. So we officially took over the entire organization, and we cashed in our first giant grant of $55,000 the second I got everything signed over to me. And it's been crazy because it's all self-learned, self-taught. Grant writing, I was self-taught. Learning about IRS and submitting all of those big boy talks, paperwork, and legal stuff.
Because you are a non-profit.
We are an official 501c, yes. We actually are changing the name, keeping the same entity number. We're just changing the name because I feel like I expressed to the city of Calipatra, because Calipatra gives us that space that we're in right now. They were not happy at first about it. They're like, but why? And it's like, because it's not just Calipat making it happen. It's all of Imperial County.
Yeah.
Like all of my people. Paulette, she accidentally drove to Calipat today thinking this podcast was over there instead of in her hood. Oops. But my point is, those are sacrifices that my committee make. They make the distance to create so much for the community. It's only fitting to give it a name that represents all of us. Yeah. And we're all putting our best step forward. We are. We're putting in 110%. Everything we do is full-hearted and with puro labor. Mira, we do it all. In the beginning of January, when COVID started kind of going a little backwards, he said, you know what? We got to stay positive. COVID's not forever. We need to get ready for when doors open, for us to have a very accepting and inviting place for our families. So we took on the challenge of flipping our space that was given to us by the city of Calipatria. And this is no knockdown in the city of Calipatria. They are kind enough to give us a space. They pay for the electricity, garbage, water, sewer. I pay for the water. I'm a liar. I pay for the water. But they give us a space and they support us as much as they can. Again, it's Calipat. We don't have a lot of money. Yeah. We don't. But they give us a space as long as we're willing to man it and we're willing to provide programs for the community in Calipat and Island Bombay. That's what matters. I'm like, all right. So I said, you know what? We got a little bit of money. We got that grant. Let's do it. And our team was ready. They said, let's do it. If you've seen some of the pictures on my Instagram, I'll plug that one in right there. If you see some of the pictures on our Instagram, it doesn't give it justice. Yeah.
And you know what? I kind of wanted to go, because I know you guys, is that garden that you guys?
I did a community garden there.
And there's a couple of things that I've seen that I'm like, I kind of want to.
And it's my pride and joy. The community garden, the space itself is my pride and joy, because we were the conditions that building was in was it wasn't pretty. There was a crack from one end to the other on the floor. Okay? From one end to the other. The dirt, glass filled. Don't worry, girl. Don't apologize. You're good. Riddled with glass, debris, bad. Dirt, bad. We rolled in with tractors. We leveled it out. We gutted it. We installed a sprinkler system. We learned how to build strip systems. We put in sod. We painted the entire mural with our friend Emily Dalton from Special Needs Resource Foundation of San Diego, a wicked awesome friend that has been a blessing among blessings. She's so talented. She is an artist, and she's like, let's wrap it. I'm like, let's wrap it. And I'm like, let's do it. And she came down for 2 days and she stenciled it. Wow. And we painted it all with teenagers that are having difficult time with COVID. We invited them in and we painted it all together and we turned it into what you see now. The garden was an awesome project that was supported by the UC Cooperative Extension Imperial County folks, Kelfresh Healthy Living,
Christopher Wong.
And UC Farm Smart, Stacy Amparno, all of them. They're all fantastic. Paul Tavares, Rigo, all those people. They were super supportive because we started growing at at home during the pandemic. We were doing virtual meets. So during the pandemic, we didn't stop. We stopped the in-person stuff. Obviously, we had no choice. But one of the things that scared me the most about the pandemic is the mental wellness of our kids. The mental wellness of our parents. I'm like, we got to do something. So that's when we introduced music virtually. We did música con ritmo. So we got Nike from LA, and he would do virtual meets with us, and he'd teach the kids how to play with claves and bongos. And then we do trivia. So we still do trivia. Trivia nights makes me super excited because we were able to hire somebody for that. And she herself, Nicole Proback, she's from San Diego. She is somebody living with cerebral palsy and her own limitations as well. But she's an adult, and she puts together these trivia nights for us, and we meet virtually, and we do that. So we've been doing that. We did social stories. We did parent support meet all virtually. So we started growing virtually as well. And we'd drop off these little ready packets that were put together by Stacy and her team from UC Farm Smart, and we'd grow together, and we'd meet once a month and say, hey, I'm messing up. Oh, I'm not messing up. So we did our practice run during the pandemic. Yeah. And we had some success. We're like, oh, we were growing this, and that within season. So once we got our space in January, I said, all right, let's go big. I got connected with Paul and them, and they're like, we don't normally support nonprofits. We just do more like schools. Yeah. So this is going to be tricky. So, I met with them virtually, and I did my best, hey guys, I'm in business. And they loved it. They're like, we love the energy. We think that you guys are going to do, and they supported it. And they started us off with our first 4 boxes, and they began the drip system. They brought in some transplants, and they're like my know-it-all. Like without them, I'd be a lost little lamb. So we put in all the work. We built the beds. We filled the dirt in. We had the kids transplant. We laid out every brick. When I say we, it's the parents, it's the grandparents, and it's the kids in our program. That's the beauty of what we do. Yeah. It unites generations of our loved ones together, and we're bonding. I think that's something that we've been losing to technology. Yeah. I think everybody could agree to that, right?
Yeah, for sure.
We're losing that with technology. And so when they're with us, all of these people are with us, you don't see them grabbing their tablets, grabbing their phones. They want to get dirty. Kids that have like fear of bugs.
Like OCD and stuff.
A new level of fear, because our kids are new level of like extreme with anxiety. Getting past a lot of their anxieties and their stressors and the things that kind of like make things difficult for them to be outside. Getting past all that. Kids lifting up bricks, and they're like, I'm so strong. That's Andre. I'm so strong. And just putting out every brick, and they wouldn't stop, nonstop, going. So that entire garden, the painted mural, the money poured into it, that is all community love. And you feel it. Remember vibes? Yeah. I cannot lie to you. The second you walk into those doors and you see that garden, you see that space, you feel the immense amount of love that is poured into the space. And it was all created by the community, not the city. Yeah, not the county. Not people that get paid for what they do. Yeah. It was parents. Parents and their kids and their grandparents all getting together, creating this beautiful inclusive space. And man, it is so fun there. We're able to work while the kids are on the swings. They're crazy. They're like helicoptering on the swings like little loquitos. It doesn't stop it. But you know what? It's like my son, he has gross motor delays, and like I see his strength building while he's on the swing, because he likes to swing around in like a helicopter. And my daughter Penny, she is flying on that thing like on the swings. And then the Lego walls, we got a lot of really creative builders, and they'll be building things on the Lego walls, and they just love it there. Yeah. And it's a mix of kids in the spectrum. It's a mix of neurotypical kids. And one of the biggest things that I'm proud of is that some of our committee members, they don't have kids with diagnosis, but they're around our kids. So just the other day, one of my committee members said, hey, my son came home and mentioned that one of the teachers, was getting Killian kind of like a hard time about his humming. Killian hums to self-soothe. That's like his thing. When he has high anxiety, he hums, which is something that the teachers need. It's going to take time to get used to. It's still early in the school year. So I'm not upset about it. But what made me happy was that her son identified. Her son said, doesn't the teacher know that Killian can't control that. When a 12-year-old child recognized something and advocated for my son.
Yeah.
Isn't that awesome?
Yeah.
That's what it's creating.
Yeah.
That's what we're creating. I think it's
amazing.
rad.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And now, because, we're not tired. We said, hey, let's take on a second space. So we're like, no pasa nada. It's okay. I'm just going to probably die after we finish this project, but it's okay. No, we realized that once we opened the location, the demand to visit the center was big. A lot of the difficulties are, one, we still do not have paid staff. So it's not like I could pay somebody to man the office for us while we're parenting.
Yeah.
I mean, I still parent, guys. Like, I coach, but I still am a parent. I have 3 little kids, 12, 7, and 6. And they have ABA, and they have their lives, their sports, and they have their this, and they got their this, just like everybody else.
Yeah.
So it's hard because we don't have paid staff yet that can man the office. So it's all comes down to free time. And when there is free time, it's like, everybody wants to come, and we're like, oh my God, we can't have everybody here because COVID sucks still, guys. And we're trying our very best. And said, you know what? A lot of our families were saying, Jackie, I can't get to Calipat. It's too far. Me, I'm used to driving everywhere. It's Calipat life, right? You drive. But a lot of families aren't accustomed to that, and I respect that. So we said, you know what? We got an opportunity. Joey Imperial, he owns the football league in El Centro, a nonprofit. He said, hey, I have my space here that I own. Do you want to take up the other half, the bigger half? And we sat down, and it was one of the most difficult decisions to make because, again, we're a grassroots nonprofit organization run 110% by volunteer parents, making the difference, making the change, creating and elevating, inspiring and motivating. We're just parents, And we're like, well, do we exclude or do we include? Exclusion is not. It doesn't exist in my life. No's don't exist in my life. Dude, you tell me no, I'm going to show you yes 510 times fold. Trust me. Oh, trust me. Everybody knows it now. They're like, you tell her no, you're going to regret it. And I work silently. I do. It's like a game of chess. I work silently. I'm like, no, okay, sale. High five. Thank you for your time. I'll be coming back and taking all your money. Ay, que gacha, ¿verdad? But no, I get driven. It's like, no, okay, I'm going to show you yes. Yeah. And I'm going to show you yes because what I'm asking for isn't out of the box thinking. It's nothing new. It's nothing different. It's just people's God-given right, right? To have an inclusive environment for them. Space, sports, fun. Let's have a good time. Everybody else has it. Silly people paying a lot of money to dance and do gymnastics and all of these things like it cost an arm and a leg. And it's like, why is it so expensive? I don't get it. Yeah. Well, we'll figure it out. We always do. Even if it means we got to find a little bit of extra money here and there and everywhere, we're going to keep it affordable for our families. And you know what? If you can't afford it, no kid is excluded. There's no such thing. You always have space with us. Yeah. You always have a spot with us. We always figure it out. Does it mean somebody's going to have to put in work? Absolutely. That's probably going to be me and my team. But we're willing to do that if it means bringing in more kids to experience what we're experiencing and families to experience what we're experiencing. Yeah. The feeling of having a tribe finally. There's a tribe. We're a tribe. We're a chingon tribe, guys.
Speaking of fun, I saw you guys went to go watch the Aquabats.
Oh my goodness, yes we did.
I was like, the Aquabats is like like late 90s, 2000.
A cult punk band, ska band, right?
Ska band, yeah.
Yeah, ska band,
I was like, because I remember the last time I saw the Aquabats, when my son was like a baby, he used to watch, I think they did a collab with Yo Gabba Gabba, I think. Mm-hmm. And I was like, man, the Aquabats, like, what the heck? Like, they're still, like, around and
yes, they are around.
And I think it's a good idea to, work with shows like Yo Gabba Gabba because, you're attracting the young audience. And
it's still very unreal to me how it all went down. And I'm going to be completely honest with you. I used to stalk the heck out of, like, Ricky. Yep. I used to stalk the heck out of him. I've always been a really big fan of the Aquabats, like over 15 years, I'd say. And then my kid was born, and then Yo Gabba Gabba existed, and there's like the MC Bat Commander is one of the co-creators of Yo Gabba Gabba.
Oh wow!
Yeah. So Yo Gabba Gabba happened. So my son and then my daughters grew up with Yo Gabba Gabba.
I love that show.
Yes, I do too. Talk about a non-lame way to enjoy kids shows, right? Yeah. I don't think a lot of people quite understand that. They see past it. It's like, no, it's inspired by music. It's a kids show that's inspired by music and good music. It's got good sound. Yeah. So I loved it because I love music. Music is life. That's what I like to say. So I had already known them, and then the Aquabats Super Show happened. That was their spin-off superhero show that they did, and it's really silly and fun for the kids, and my kids loved it. They loved the show, and it's actually a really good show. It's funny. The acting is quite goofy, but that's what gets the kids drawn in. So I had already taken my son to see the Aquabats. When he turned 10, I took him to the House of Blues in San Diego to watch them, and they were a lot of fun. They do all these crazy, like, crowd surfing with the kids on pizza and all this crazy stuff, and we had a blast. And, that was a big eye-opener for me because my son is in the spectrum. Loud noises sometimes makes it difficult for kids, but my kid powered out through some of his differences, and we had a blast. It was a great day, and I was like, we need to take more kids to do stuff like this. There's no reason why we shouldn't have a life. Yes, our kids have our differences, but we should have a life. And people, if they want to look and they want to stare and they want to assume that we don't discipline our kids, well, they could assume all they want. Or they could ask, or they could offer help. That's a big one, right? Yeah. Not enough people do that, sadly. They rather pass judgment than to offer.
You know what? That's something I learned with my nephews was for a long time, I was kind of those people that judge. Now I kind of... I don't ask per se, but I'll like kind of like try to interact and see their reaction. And you kind of like once you interact with the kid in the spectrum, you kind of know.
You don't understand it until you live it.
Yeah.
And whether it's relatable through family or your own story, point being, it really is an eye-opening experience where you're like, wow, I've really lived in a bit of a make-believe world to think that, things are picture perfect, rainbows and unicorns. It's not. It's very different. But yeah, it was good to see my son being able to acclimate to something that I love. I love music, and I know my son's going to be my concert buddy. I love going to live shows. That's like, I love it. I think we're going to go to a live show on the 30th, huh, pal? Fingers crossed. Anyway, so during the pandemic, the Aquabats, they posted, and Ricky, they posted that they're offering guitar lessons and they're offering drumming lessons. And so I said, you know what? One of our biggest things is if you don't ask, it's always a no. I can't stress that enough. People that are starting their own nonprofit organizations or starting their own mission statements, whatever the case may be, it's always a no unless you ask.
Yeah, I think it's for anything.
In general, just ask, And so I reached out, I emailed, I said, hey, I have a group of kids that are, special needs. And we're wondering if you guys would be willing to do group drumming lessons. Expectations are more of a social interactive time and maybe teaching like intro to drumming. And about a week and a half later goes by, I got the response, and it was a yes, and he wants to do it for free. And I was like, you gotta be freaking kidding me.
That's crazy.
And I was just to the moon. And at that point, like, I had been following Ricky for a minute, and I probably put a lot of heart emojis on his face a few times, and I was like, at that moment, I was like, easy. What if he identifies this weirdo with the weirdo that always sent hearts? I'm like, embarrassing. It's like I kind of have identifiable marks. But what's it called? We had our very first virtual meet in December with about 12 kids. And it was a very sweet, emotional moment for us. He was very emotional and moved by it. And he's been working with us ever since.
That's so crazy.
So he meets us bi-weekly, virtually. And from then, like, I actually started doing one-on-one drumming lessons for my son, because my son stims. Stimming is what kids do when they're overly excited about things, whether it's good or bad. kids in the spectrum, they'll like either wave their hands like this, or they'll snap, or they'll shake their feet a lot, or they'll like look at things and they'll like teeter-totter with things like this, like obsessively. That's stimming. So I was like, well, maybe we should try that, because I noticed my kid has the ability to use all his extremities really well. So we started doing one-on-one, and I actually see something out of my son, and he's taking on drumming now, so I'm pretty stoked.
That's crazy.
But we decided when they announced they were going to have their first concert since the pandemic on August 14th, I said, we should go. And they're like, I'm down. So we bought tickets, and all of the drumming kids, we all loaded up and we went, and we partied so hard. Let me tell you, the kids had a blast, and it was a beautiful moment to see our kids in that environment. Like, they're rocking. They were like, oh yeah. They made signs. They were holding up their signs. They had such a good time. And it felt so good to see, like, this is a piece of my world that I love. Again, I love music. I love live concerts. It's just a whole different level of just like, oh my gosh. And at the end of the show, we went down there, and this crazy lady Pao was holding up signs. She's like, hey, we want to see Ricky. And he came out and he met the kids. We met Crash, and they all took pictures, and it was a beautiful experience to give we did that for the kids. I still don't understand how it happened, but it happened. Yeah. You know, and it all happened because we just asked, and it happened. And it was just a beautiful experience. And we still work with Ricky. Yeah,
it's crazy because, like I said, you know, I listened to Alcobats growing up. And then when my son started watching Yoga Baga, I was like, and then I was like, man, that's amazing.
Yeah, he's become one of the usuals in our programs now. I mean, virtually, crazy. But it's still a trip. Like I said, for me, it's still very unreal. Yeah. That it's like Ricky's our homie. Yeah. I mean, but the kids love him. He's so good with the kids, interactive. He makes them laugh. He teaches them, he makes them sweat. It's so funny. He'll give them exercises that are like, my arms are like spaghetti noodles, and it's hilarious. But we do questions, Q&A, and we have a good time. They love it. Awesome. Yeah, that's one of my favorite things that we've done so far with our programs. Still unreal, but fun. Yeah.
Well, we're at over an hour and a half. And
not done yet.
To be honest, you know, I've been looking at no. To be honest, like I've been looking at the time, and I was like, man, it's gone like flying. But you know, you have some amazing stories. You made it so easy for me because I only like said yes, or like.
In other words, you talk too much, Jackie.
No.
Cállate.
Like, to me, it's like.
Ya cállate.
To me, like that's what I love when I have people that you know. I had questions that you basically answered. My biggest question was the Alcobat question that I kind of wanted.
Maybe someday you could join us on drumming and you could say hi to Ricky.
Yeah, for sure.
I would love. I have no problem making that happen.
That'll be fun.
He's super cool.
My husband was more excited than me to see him.
Yeah, and they're like, "What? The Alcobat's Ricky?" No. Yeah, it's been very fun, and that's what I'm going to continue to push. These experiences that we thought couldn't happen, make it happen. Yeah. That's what we're trying to do. And we're bringing in some cool, fun things to Imperial County. We really are. And even if it means us having to drive the distance to introduce them to a new level of awesomeness, we're going to do that. We really are. We're going to make it happen. And I think we invite everybody to come by.
Step Forward is for anybody.
It's inclusive, yes. So Best Step Forward is inclusive for any family that wants to utilize what we offer. Somebody recently had asked me, well, why don't you market that it's for everyone? I'm like, I'm sorry, offended. When I say inclusive, that means everyone. All walks of life. It doesn't mean you have to be special needs. It means every person that wants to enjoy what we're doing, you're welcome to enjoy it with us. You want to know what the biggest difficulty is for families? Is walking through those doors, feeling that they're going to be categorized as special needs. If that's what you're worried about, then maybe you don't belong with us. It's okay. Yeah. We're okay with that. Yeah. We're still going to have a good time. But I'm telling you, the people that don't walk through those doors are the ones missing out, because we know how to have a good time. And we love the kids. And just the other day, one of my kids moved out of, Riley moved. He moved out of state, and in their new location, that they live in, they pass by this park, and it's a huge park with a bunch of soccer fields. And he said he's a boy with very little words. Very little words. And he's like, Mommy, Coach Jackie needs to come see the soccer field. And I'm like, oh my heart. I'm like, oh no. I'm like, I'm going to have to go visit you guys now. Let me go freaking sell tamales and burritos so I could go visit you guys porque estoy pobre. No, but those moments is you're impacting a child's life. And all we're doing is having a good time with a lot of hugs. We're vaccinated, guys. So we could give hugs. But everybody is welcome to participate in what we do. We have a really good time. We do, of course, we see more of our participants that are in the spectrum or have disabilities. We have families that have Down syndrome, ADD, ADHD, different diagnoses, really, that sometimes kids that just have anxiety or have experienced traumatic events in their life, they come through our doors because sometimes they just need that extra encouragement, that extra support. Just being told, like, a lot of times you go into a competitive level of anything, and if you're not exactly up to speed to them, you're not exactly accepted or invited. So it's like, come try it with us. And it doesn't matter if you dance with 2 feet. We're still dancing. That's what matters. Enjoy the vibes, enjoy the music, enjoy the environment, enjoy the families, enjoy the tribe. We created it. You're in it. Let's go. Let's make it happen. So we invite everybody. Heck, you're going to come over too. You're going to party with us. Watch.
For sure. I'll bring my nephews. Any closing thoughts?
Any closing thoughts? Let me think. If you are a parent with a child showing any types of differences, 1, don't be afraid. 2, get answers. And 3, you're not alone. There's many of us living it. We're here. I welcome anybody to reach out. We got amazing parents that would love to hear your story and would love to share our story. It's just a matter of making that phone call, that text, that email. And also, if anybody is out there that wants to create these types of programs in their community, I highly encourage it. The need of it is huge. And I'm only one person. And my team, yes, we got a big team, but it's a lot of work. We always accept volunteers, but if you want to be the person that makes it happen in your community, make it happen. I'm nothing special. I'm just a person like everybody else. Make it happen.
I think you have a lot of more energy than
you think
normal people. That's what I feel.
No, I don't. You know what? You say you and a lot of people, and I just lay there in bed at night eating my food I probably shouldn't be eating, Cheetos. All eating. It's like, I don't have a lot of energy. It's like 1 a.m. No.
So that's a trick. You need to eat Cheetos late at night. So.
It's so bad. You should not eat. Don't eat Cheetos, people. It's bad. Ulcers.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Jackie, thank you for driving down here to Calexico. I kind of wanted to go up there and see your place, but hopefully I'll get the chance.
You will.
Thank you guys for listening and sharing your story. And, you know, you not only your story, but the story of Best Step Forward. You know, it's really, really amazing. Hopefully you don't run for city council again, because you're doing an amazing job with this project.
Hopefully I don't run again. I really don't think I want to be honest with you. I think that my calling is the kids.
Yeah, I don't think politics is where you want to be.
I'm not. I don't like to follow that fine formal line.
Yeah.
The madness is good the way I do it. I like it.
Well, once again, thank you. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for listening or watching. If you guys didn't catch last night's game between Hoville and Calexico, it was amazing. That was a 1 point at the end. I'm not gonna spoil it, so you can go watch it at VSN. Thank you guys again. Thank you guys here at Calexico Brewing Company. I'm gonna have another beer. Stay safe and peace.